Alright, I'm going to go and open a file we've already worked with called My Intro Raw. Now if you've been watching the previous movies in this chapter, you've seen me use the undo command several times. So for example, if I zoom in a bit to the beginning, and I select this little bit of silence here, and delete it, I can, as with many other applications, take back the last action I performed by choosing Edit Undo. Notice that undo is followed by the description of what I did, in this case undo delete audio. So I have a clear understanding of exactly what I'm undoing. So I'll choose that, and the part that I deleted is now restored. And as you might expect, Audition also has a redo command. So if I change my mind again and decide that I do want to in fact get rid of that selection, I can just choose Edit, Redo, Delete Audio. And now it's gone again. The commands for undo and redo are fairly universal. It's Command or Control Z on Windows for undo, and Shift Command Z or Shift Control Z to redo. Now you might have noticed there's also an option here called Repeat Last Command. This is useful if you want to apply the same command to multiple selections or files. For example, I'll just select a small section of audio here, and maybe I want to increase its amplitude by about 3 dB. And now maybe I want to do the same thing to another section of my audio. But instead of having to make a selection and then dragging across the amplitude tool to precisely the same level again, I can just do my selection and then choose Edit, Repeat Last Command, and you can see that now says Amplify. Or even more efficiently, I can make a selection and press Command or Control R to keep redoing that same command. This way I can work very quickly by keeping my right hand on my mouse and my left hand on my keyboard to apply my changes. Now before we go any further, I'm going to apply some other effects to this file. It doesn't really matter what I do. I'm just going to come in here and maybe choose some compression. I'll just choose one of the defaults here. I'll apply that. I'll go to the Favorites menu. I'll choose Telephone Voice. And I'll normalize it. Okay. Now, just in case you're curious, it sounds like this now.
As well as how to use those tools to create.
But it doesn't really matter what I've applied. I just want to build up a couple of changes so I can show you the History panel. And it's located down here in the default Audition workspace. Notice it gives me a top-to-bottom list of everything I've been doing to this file since I opened it. The most recent change here is down at the bottom, and that's the normalize command I just applied. So this is a good way to see all the changes I've made to a file at a glance. Notice if I press Command or Control Z on my keyboard, the little handle next to the most recent step goes back up to the previous step. I can also click any step in my history to jump back to that point. So if I wanted to revert back to the file the way it was when I first opened it, I just click Open, instead of choosing Undo multiple times to go back step by step. And then I can also jump forward back to the most recent change by clicking, in this case, Normalize, and instantly it'll reapply all the changes in between again. You can also remove history steps if you don't need them anymore. For instance, I can delete this Normalize command by selecting it and then clicking the trash can icon. I'm given this warning saying this can't be undone, which I'm okay with, so I'll say yes, and it's gone. Now you can also select steps in the middle and click the trash as well, but notice that deletes all the subsequent steps below it. So you can't remove an isolated step or action from the middle. Everything that followed it will be deleted as well. Now, if for instance I wanted to start from scratch with this file again, I could just click the menu button here and choose Clear History. And that's just a quick way to get rid of everything you've done since you opened the file. Now just so you know, the steps in your file's history are saved to a temporary file on your computer, which technically gives you an unlimited amount of undos. You can apply several dozen changes and still step back through them, but that's only as long as you haven't closed your file. Once you close a file and have presumably saved it, the history is wiped out and you won't be able to step back through the changes when you reopen it. So that's the History panel, which you can use to undo and redo changes in your audio files.